We are on page number 107 in your ABCs of Christian Maturity, talking about financial freedom. And we are looking here at the segment on actions for financial freedom. We talked about first financial freedom from the past, talked about how to get out of debt, put some sanctions in place, get some surplus going, and put that together, make that work. Now we're going to talk about financial freedom for the present. And the best way to enjoy financial freedom is to use a budget. We're going to talk about budgeting. This is why I'm giving you guys these papers here to write stuff down. Because we're gonna go over some things here. Make sure that you get one of these papers, whether you're waiting for the bathroom or not or whatever. Make sure you get a piece of paper from him. He's got a stack of them right there. Everybody, make sure you get one. If you need something to write with, I've got lots of pens. So we're going to be right here. Our first verse here is Proverbs 27, verse 23 through 27. We're going to talk about budgeting and so forth. A budget is a simple yet sound method of financial management which requires planning, communication, and discipline. Proverbs 27, verses 23 through 27 says, Be thou diligent to know the state of thy flocks, and look well to thy herds. For riches are not forever, and doth the crown endure to every generation? The hay appeareth, and the tender grass showeth itself. The herbs of the mountain are gathered. The lambs are for thy clothing, and the goats are the price of the field. And thou shalt have goat's milk enough for thy food, for the food of thy household, and for the maintenance of thy maidens. So here it says instruction. The instruction of verse number 23 is to... Sorry, I know I got started pretty quick, but I'm trying to get rolling here because we're starting when we're supposed to be finishing. The instruction given in verse number 23 is to know the state of thy flocks, right? Know the state of and look well to the management of your income. Again, I'm gonna say that again. This is important, guys. Know the state of and look well to the management of your income. Now, of course, in their day, the flocks were their livelihood. That's what they had to eat and to drink, and they had the milk and they had the food from the flocks, and a lot of times they were shepherds and so forth a lot of times, and so they would take care of these flocks. They would tend to those flocks, and they would sometimes sell them to others, and that's how they would take care of their business. And so as we look at that in relation to us today, it's a very, very good point here to know the state of and look well to the management of our income. So it goes on, though. It says the promise of verse 27 is that there will be enough for our own needs, for those of our household and those who depend on us. Okay? God is faithful. He takes care of us. He takes care of us. Did I say something to anybody besides my Uncle Donnie about like how incredibly expensive my business was last month as opposed to what I thought was coming in this month? I just looked at the reports and everything that's needed to pay those bills I was telling you about are coming in and then some. Praise the Lord. He takes care of us. And so it is, but although he takes care of us, we have to know the state of our flocks. We have to consider the expenses that we have to take care of things. We have to consider the costs of living that we have to have. And so we have to be able to take what we know is coming in, and we have to know where it needs to go so that it's best used. Okay? And so that's what we're going to talk about. But it says, I'm trying to read this page, and I'm on this page. Okay. I'll get it down here. But so first thing we want to do, we want to plan a budget. Plan a budget. This is a perfect. We were just talking about that, weren't we? We were just talking about that. So this is the night if you were going to be here, this is the night to be here. If you're going to visit tonight, if you're going to watch the video, this is the time. If you want, this is the crux of the whole financial freedom thing. This is where it gets down to where the rubber meets the road, and that's why I made sure that everybody, hopefully everybody, at least one per family, anyways, has this the paper there, because you're gonna start writing some stuff down on it here in a minute. You want to plan a budget. There are 3 questions to answer in order to properly plan a budget. First question is, where am I now? The second question is, where do I need to go? And the third question is, how do I get there? Okay? Now, in those questions, as you ask yourself, where am I now? You're going to answer those questions by asking 3 more questions. The first one is, what is my income? Where am I now? What is my income? You're going to put that down. If you want to write that down on your little paper there, this isn't for you to turn into me. This is for you to keep. I'm not looking to know any of your stuff. All right. But this is for you to keep. What is my income? What are my basic needs? I'm not looking for you're not looking for numbers right yet. Basic needs. Okay. And so now, whether you have income or not, those of you visiting from a mission, go through this. This will be helpful for you. Okay. Whether you've got income or not, you need to know what your basic needs are. And then you're going to also have to know, how do I take care of this? How much am I going to need to take care of those? That's going to come later. But then it says, what are my current commitments? Current commitments. And obviously this is talking about current commitments financially. So when we ask that question, do you have credit card debt? Do you have a mortgage? Do you have, besides your basic needs, what have you committed yourself to? Do you have a membership somewhere that you're committed to that you know that you have to pay? This will get you in the mindset of thinking about, okay, I'm putting together a budget now. I need to kind of know what I need and what I've committed to. Okay. The next question, which isn't on here, is which one of these commitments or which of these commitments aren't necessary? That's something that, back to the surplus thing. Do I have commitments that I've made that, like yesterday, I called Sears and said, hey, you know what? I don't need this home warranty on my house. Now, home warranties are great, I think, very useful. If you buy a new house, y'all that are looking at buying a house, buy the home warranty. Actually, make the seller buy the home warranty. Make the seller buy the home warranty. That's part of your closing costs. Put that in your offer. If you haven't already made an offer, put that in your offer. You're paying for the home warranty. You as in the seller. What? What's that? It's usually 1 year. And then, but you need to have the paperwork so that you can renew it, or you can go to another home warranty company. A lot of home warranty companies. The reason for that is, you buy a new house, you don't know what all's there. AC unit goes out, you're hit for a few $1,000s. I'm not real big on warranties. If you go to the store and buy a tool or something, if it's like a lifetime warranty tool, cool. If I go to Harbor Freight and buy a drill, I don't. It's gonna last 2 months. I don't buy the 3-year warranty on it for $12 when the thing cost me $20. Doesn't make sense. If it lasts me for 4 jobs, it was good enough. I'll just go buy another one. I mean, I'm going to spend the money, and anyways, you don't always buy warranties on things, but I do think that a home warranty is a good idea because of all that it covers. Depending on what it covers, make sure you get a good one. But the reason I brought that up is because I called and canceled the one on my house, but on my rental property, I'm keeping one. I've got a home warranty on that, so that's pretty convenient too. Renters call, garage door's not working. Oh, okay, it's going to cost you $60. I'm going to send the home warranty people out. You pay the $60 for the fee, and if it's broke, they'll fix it. If it's not broke, well, you just spent $60. Because what I've done in the past, renters call me and say, garage door's not working. I go out there, and the garage door opener has come unplugged. I take a whole trip to drive over there just to look and say, oh, it's not plugged in. So, putting those teeth on there, it's going to cost you $60 for a service call. So home warranty and homeowners insurance, they're different. Home warranty covers stuff that homeowners insurance won't cover, like wear and tear, like your furnace goes out for whatever reason, like you didn't change the filter in 3 years, and so now it's dead. Of course, if you have a home warranty, a lot of times they offer free service like that. Once a year, they'll come out and check it, and they'll say, "Dude, you need to change your filter more often," and then you just remember to do so. By the way, if you own a house, depending on what kind of filter you have, you ought to be changing about every 30 to 90 days, depending on what it is. We've got cleanable filters here. I try to remember to pull them out about every month or so and swap them, and then clean the one and put the other back, or I ask him to do it or something, So, anyways, we can talk about home warranty and homeowners insurance. Homeowners insurance is for when an event takes place. You have a storm, or you have an accident, or something happens. Home warranty is it broke down. Something broke down. My dishwasher stopped working, or my did you notice that place you're looking at didn't have a dishwasher? Amen. Amen. I talked to a realtor about that today, by the way, and we'll talk about it later. But so my dishwasher stopped working, or my a lot of times those home warranties cover all your appliances. Like my stove's broke. Now what do? Spend $500 to get a new stove, or call home warranty company, pay $60 for the service tech to come out and look at it, and he says, "Oh, it just needs this part. I'll change it." Okay, or your stove's junk. We're gonna buy you a new one. That's the way the home warranty stuff works a lot of times. There are some little stipulations that go along with that. Like if you got a furnace that's like in a closet that can't be accessed, they don't cover access and stuff. So those are things to think about when you're looking at houses. What if this goes out? Can I fix it? So commitments. When you put a commitment, when you make commitments, be sure not to overcommit yourself. And sometimes you gotta evaluate your commitments and say, okay, are there any of these that I can get rid of, without breaking my word? Of course, you don't want to be like, I got all these commitments, I'm going to declare bankruptcy. That's how I'll get rid of them. Wrong answer. You get rid of your commitments by either paying them off or coming to an agreement with whoever you committed to that you're gonna maybe recommit or change the term or whatever. In the case of the home warranty, it was, if I don't want it anymore, I pay a $25 cancellation fee, and I'm done. So pay $25, so I'm not paying $60 a month for the rest of the year. That's okay. Got rid of that commitment. So where am I now? Income, needs, commitments. Letter B. Where do I need to go? Where do I need to go? Some of you are saying I need to go home and eat dinner. Where do I need to go? And that's not the question. Am I working toward becoming debt-free? If you've got debts, the answer to that question is yes. Hopefully that's the answer to that question. Are there any unusual needs coming up? Do I have stuff coming up? Am I expecting a child, or am I expecting, are there any other expenses, unusual needs that may come up? Do I own an old car? Do I have money set aside to fix it because it's going to happen? You got to have a plan to fix it. So what special savings goals am I trying to reach? So if you're out of debt, of course, savings goals, you need to have, hey, you, right there. Better stay still, not distracted. If you're out of debt, then of course you need to have some savings plans and so forth for various things, for special needs that may come up, an emergency fund, which we talked about a little bit last week. You also need to have what other? That's great. That's the baby in there laughing. Oh, he's crying? Sounded like he was laughing. Yeah, that's right, he is. Now, see, now I feel bad because I thought he was laughing. Everybody was excited he was laughing, but he was really crying. I think he'll be all right. All right, so savings goals. What do you save for? Which we're gonna probably look at that a bit more, but save for retirement, save for maybe helping the kids get into college. I don't believe it's right for you to save and pay for your kids' college completely. I think you ought to make them do it. I mean, help them get through school and all that, but then enable them and teach them to work and pay their own way. Um, although my kids, if they go to a state school, it's fully paid for from the VA, but I I'm not going to encourage that. Encourage them to work and save, but other savings goals, people talk about saving for retirement, saving for a rainy day, um, for something that might happen, medical issues. You ought to have, if you've got insurance for something, what do you have? When you have a claim, what do you usually have to handle? Medical insurance, you have a copay along with a deductible. So you have a $5,000 deductible. Sometimes some of us are, and I'll admit it, I'm one of those. But you have a $5,000 deductible. Do you have $5,000 set aside in case something happens? Usually not. The reason you have $5,000 deductible is because you're broke. You need cheaper insurance, right? That's exactly right. But in the perfect world, if you have a $5,000 deductible, you have $5,000 set aside. In the perfect world, you have homeowners insurance. Most of the time these days, most people, I would say 90% of the claims that I do, they have a $1,000 deductible. So they should have $1,000 set aside in case something happens and they've got to, say we have a big hailstorm, praise the Lord, and their roof gets destroyed, and now they got to get a new roof. By the way, that one I was writing, $22,000. One I was writing on Sunday afternoon, $22,000 is what it came up to, and they have to pay $1,000 of it. Hey, think about that. I get a new roof and I pay $1,000, but it's a $22,000 job. It was only 35 square, but it was like this, it was like steep and high both. So you should have that set aside, and that's why that the Dave Ramsey plan, baby step number one, is to set aside $1,000, because that usually covers deductible if you get in a car accident, or if your insurance has a $1,000 deductible, that's your bare bones minimum to have set aside, the $1,000. But so those are questions that you need to ask about the future. You ask, where am I now? Where do I need to go? Am I working toward being debt free? Those are questions that you need to answer. So letter C, how do I get there? Proverbs 16:13, commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. We are admonished to commit our works or planning unto the Lord, so that our thoughts shall be established. Planning a budget should be seen as a matter of wise stewardship. Therefore, a spiritual exercise therefore it is a spiritual exercise as much as a mathematical exercise. Sometimes you just look at words and you're like, you know what? That was not the word to use there. Mathematical exercise, all right? It's just as much putting together a budget. We think, oh, budget, that's temporal, and that's all about this worldly stuff. It is as much a spiritual exercise to put together a budget as it is a mathematical exercise or a worldly exercise. It is a spiritual matter to have a budget, because we have a responsibility spiritually to, back on our first verse, know the state of our affairs, right? To look well to the management of our stuff. We have a responsibility to be wise stewards. How much of what you have do you actually own? I'm not talking about equity and debt versus I'm not talking about liability versus expense or liability versus assets and expense and debits and so forth. How much? Okay, your Bible. How much of what you have do you own? Do you even own the skin on your body? No. Nothing that you have belongs to you. Nothing. Everything you have belongs to God. And so you have a responsibility, and I have a responsibility to take everything that we own, even our Bibles, even the paper that was just handed to you, even everything that you own, your body, your possessions, your money, your real estate, your vehicles, everything you own, it all belongs to God. And he gives us the responsibility to be wise stewards of those things. And so when it comes to having a budget, it's not just about numbers. It's not just about a temporal thing. It's about God has given us a stewardship. And in that stewardship, we have a responsibility to be faithful. I don't know if he uses the verse here, but I'll mention it. It is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. We as stewards, we are stewards or trustees of God's stuff. You know, we use that terminology in the church here. You know, the pastor's a trustee and the church is a trustor and God's the beneficiary. Well, that's the way life is, guys. You are the trustee. What you own, God should be the beneficiary of what you own. Everything, all your property and yourself, your being, belongs to God. He is the true and rightful beneficial owner of all things. You're simply the one who he's trusted to take care of it. You're the trustee. You're the steward. And you and I, we have responsibility to take care of it properly. So number 2 here, after number 1 was planning a budget. So you kind of plan that by asking those 3 basic questions. Where am I right now? Where do I need to go concerning the budget? And how do I get there? So you're going to answer these questions as you begin to prioritize. Who's first? The Lord. The Lord is first. Proverbs 3, 9, and 10. Honor the Lord with thy substance and with the first fruits of all thine increase. So shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine. We obviously know that if we put God first, we have abundance, as he says. God doesn't leave us out there to dry. Now, that doesn't mean that, okay, I gave $5, now God's going to give me, or I didn't have anything, so I gave it, so God's going to bless me. We have to be wise, but we still place God first. Just because we think, I've had many times where I'm like, God, if I give my offering, I won't be able to pay these bills. That's why for probably the last, 7 or 8, 10 years, whatever, it's just been like, okay, the money's come in. It's a little different now because of business and stuff, so you have to figure expense and things. But, to know actually what you actually really earn, because your increase is actually, if you're running a business, your increase is you have expense, income. Okay, where's the profit? That's your increase. Your increase isn't your income, it's your profit when it comes to business. So, anyways, when I look at what comes in, I look at it and I say, okay, this portion doesn't belong to me. It's already gone. It's God's. And then I look at, okay, this is how much I have. I don't have that. That doesn't belong to me. It's not mine. It's God's. It's God's. This is what's left. It's God's also. But now this is the amount he's given me to deal with these bills over here. And then I look at it and I say, okay, God, this doesn't cover it. Now what do we do? And you know what? It has been a very, very long time. Very long time. I mean, I don't remember the last time that my bank account was negative. I do remember the last time my bank account was negative, this was in it still. And it went negative. So now, to keep my bank account from going negative, I go withdraw my offering first thing. Because it's like if my offering's in there, then everything in the bank account starts going away real quick. And the next thing you know, it's like, oh, what happened? So I don't know. That's just me. I take the offering out and have it ready to give, and then it just seems like everything else that's left just stays there. Like, what's it? It's right. God makes your car break down. You know what? That has happened to me. I mean, so many times. God talks about cutting a hole in the sack. Oh yeah, He does that. He does that. But you know what? It's not. It's not about God saying, "I want your money." No, it's about God saying, "I want you to be faithful. I want you to do what's right." And so it has nothing to do with your money, really. It just has to do with you doing right. So the Lord's first. Of course, we also recognize that taxes, you know, boo, amen. Uh, but for this cause, pay ye tribute, or pay ye tribute also, for they are God's ministers, attending continue upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. I think this here is due is an important thing to consider. Some of our someday we as a country need to deal with the major problem that we have with our leadership. We need to fix that someday through proper means. But the tribute is becoming, we're getting to a point where it's really not due. It's just being given. That's another message for another day. Debts must be paid. Psalm 37, verse 21. The wicked borroweth and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. Not only do they pay again, but they also give. That's like, think about this. Put yourself in this situation. Like I said last week, you have all your bills paid, no debts, you don't owe anyone anything, and you've got money set aside in case of emergency, 6 months of income, and you see somebody that has a need, and you're like, hey, now you don't go and grab it out of your 6 months that you have set aside, and you don't go grab it out of what you have to use to pay the bills, but you have everything's taken care of, and so you say, you know what, I can help them out. I'm showing mercy. I'm going to give. By the way, it is irresponsible, though, if your bills aren't paid and you see a need. Now, it's not irresponsible to do what's right and give to God what's necessary, what He requires. But it's irresponsible if we see somebody in need and we say, oh, you know what? It's kind of like this. He has and I'm responsible for making sure that his needs are fulfilled. I'm responsible. Now, if he was an adult, he's responsible for it. I'm no longer responsible. But my responsibility is to make sure he's got what he needs. What he needs. Don't understand. That is irresponsible. Not because he doesn't need it, or not he needs it. He's got a legitimate need. But I only have enough to take care of him. I only have enough to take care of my responsibility. If I take from what I have to take care of my responsibility and give to help someone else when my responsibilities aren't taken care of first, I'm being irresponsible. because I didn't take care of my responsibility first. Not, and now, that doesn't mean that I don't care for him. It means that I'm being responsible. Because you know what? When I'm responsible, sometimes, well, not this time, but sometimes, sometimes God provides abundance, and then the next thing you know, they all have what they need. I remember responsibility because I was faithful to fulfill the responsibility. He's given me a little bit more so that I can help others. God does that all the time. All the time. But we can't expect God to bless us if we don't first fulfill our responsibilities. We are not going to be able to write the budget today, but we will next week. We're going to finish these 3 points here, or we're going to finish prioritizing a budget, and then we'll review it next week. And then we'll deal with actually putting together a budget or producing a budget next week. No, we won't. We'll do that the following week. Next week we're going to have missionary here. But we have a responsibility as we see these steps here. I know I got into dealing with family must be provided for, and we didn't really deal with that yet. Debts have to be paid. We can't be wicked. Say, hey, Brother Brian, I'm broke, man. Can I have $50? Thanks. But we'll just say he gave me $50, and I say, you know what? My family has needs. Sorry, Brian, I'm not giving it back to you. That's not the right way to do it. The wicked borroweth and payeth not again. Now, I might be in a tough spot and say, Brian, you know what? I can't give you the $50 right now, but I'll give you 5, and I'll give you 5 next week, and I will pay again. I will take care of that. By the way, I don't believe that it's sinful to have debt, but I do believe that only the poor have debt. What the Bible teaches. Those who are faithful, eventually they're out of debt, and over time, it's only those who are in poverty that borrow. It's the problem with our country today is they expect everyone to be in poverty. Everybody's supposed to be in poverty. In fact, I would say that 98% of our country is poor, whether they think they are or not. They're living on other people's money. Mortgage, car payment, all that stuff, because they're in bondage to someone else who had the money to buy what they wanted, and now they have to pay them because they couldn't afford it in the first place. That's bondage. That's slavery. That's what that is. I can't buy my own stuff, so you buy it for me and I'll work for you. How's the song go? I owe, so it's off to work I go, right? No. Right? Why are you working? Hopefully you're working to pay for things that you need and not working to pay for things that somebody else has provided for you. Right. But if you're wise about it, you buy the car with your own money instead of somebody else's, so that you don't have to be in bondage to them for all that time. So, and I'm not trying to, like I said, I don't believe that debt is sinful per se, although we did talk about that a little while ago, and he did say, to confess the causes as sin, the root causes for debt. Debt itself, I don't believe is sinful. I believe covetousness is sinful. Wastefulness is sinful. Impulsiveness can be sinful. don't misunderstand that, but I don't believe that just because you have debt, you're in sin. You know, sometimes we end up in that situation, but we can work our way out of it, and budgeting is going to be the way to do it. So, letter D, family must be provided for. I gave the illustration already. The verse here, 1 Timothy 5:8. If any provide not for his own, especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. By the way, this isn't talking about taking care of your kids. It's talking about taking care of your widows. And I would say, how much more should we take care of our kids and our spouse? And, you know, this is talking about, if you read the context, the rest of the passage, talking about, you know, if you have widows that need to be taken care of, well, the family's supposed to take care of them, especially those of their own house. It's supposed to be taken care of. Anyways, letter E, and we'll close with this, and then we'll talk about producing a budget next time. The future must be saved for. We can't expect the future to just happen on its own. We have to plan for the future. Proverbs 6:6-8. Go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer and gathereth her food in the harvest. Plans for the future. Plans for the future. It's not a, oh no, life's coming at me now, and what am I going to do? No, it's, I know life's going to come at me later, and so I'm going to prepare for that. What am I going to do to make sure that I'm ready for that? And so, you know, how do you do that? A budget. A budget. Prepare for the future. Those of you that don't, that may not be here next time, if you want to do the budget thing, you got a budget category guidelines here. These aren't like law, it's guidelines. But you have housing, and just so that you can write it down real quick. Housing, 32 to 37% of net income. That's after tax and tithe. Household and food and household supplies, you know, toilet paper and things like that, groceries and personal items, 12 to 17% of your net income. Auto, 13 to 15%. That includes gas, repairs, maintenance, tires, insurance, licensing, all that stuff. 13 to 15% of net income. Insurance and medical should be 10 to 15% of net income. Personal, you know, for clothing and, you know, get your hair done, your nails done, ladies, you know, or pets or whatever your personal thing. That's not entertainment, that's personal. 7 to 10%. Debt elimination, 5 to 7%, he puts here. You don't get out of debt that fast, you know, when you do it this way, but 5 to 7%, that'll help. Entertainment, recreation, you know, eating out, family days, sport, vacations, gifts. That's where I end up. That's where my budget's bad. I need to work on that. 5 to 7%. Giving. This giving's not talking about your tithe and stuff. This is talking about like your faith promise, love offerings, offerings for special needs, seeing someone else in your family or you know, not in your immediate family, but someone else in, you know, that should be taking care of themselves. They're in need and you have the ability, 5%. Be careful, because those of us that love people can easily see a need and say, you know what, I want to help them out. And then we end up taking 30% and throwing it at people to try to help them. It's important to help people, but it's important not to be irresponsible when we help people. 5%. So if you make $1,000 a month, which isn't much, probably can't live on $1,000. I don't think anybody can live on $1,000 a month these days. If you make $1,000 a month, means what, 10% of that would be 100. 5% would be 50. It means if you make $1,000 a month, you shouldn't be giving away more than 50 to you know, people that have need. You know, the guy that's panhandling, you're going to give him money. You shouldn't give away more than 50 in an entire month. I know sometimes, spur of the moment. I don't give cash to anybody on the road, by the way. Somebody comes to me and says, I'm hungry. Can you spare $1? Nope. You hungry? Come with me. We'll go get you a sandwich. But I've done that before. Man, I did that in Louisville, and I spent $50 at Chipotle for a couple guys for lunch. Uh, be careful about doing that. That was my whole month's giving allowance. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, but but that's got to be careful because we can get in a situation where we feel like we're doing good when we're over giving. We need to be careful not to do that. Savings equal that 5% of net, and then miscellaneous 4 to 5% of net. That by the way, he says, however these figures are arranged, they must equal 100%. If you don't, he also says something about Christian education, which that's important to save for and plan for as well. But if your budget, when you take your percentages and you put your percentages together, if your expenses are more than your income, then you're the United States government, and you're going to go bankrupt. You're gonna go out of business. That's why we need to make sure our government stops spending more than they have. And that doesn't mean we need to give them more. It means we need to put a leash on them and tell them, hey, you went too far. Cut back on your spending. Balance your budget. Balancing your budget means that you're spending less than you're bringing in. So we'll deal with this stuff a little bit more in detail next week. I wanted to give that to you guys. For those that may not be here, or not next week, the week after, those that may not be able to be here for that, write those things down. You got percentages now? Write down your income, and then run those numbers. Put those percentages out, and then write down the numbers. Say, okay, that makes sense. So I don't need to spend more than this much for this item, this much for this category, this much for that category. And there you go. Any questions or comments? Questions or comments? I know we could talk about that. This subject is one of the least talked about, but one of the most important subjects for our society today, because it is one of the most neglected subjects. Because it's one of the most neglected subjects, it's one of the most important that needs to be talked about, because people leave this stuff out, and then we end up in trouble, and we're like, what happened to me? Well, I didn't plan. That's what happens. That's what happens to every single one of us. I can tell you. Has anybody? Let me just ask this. Anybody never ever been in financial trouble? My daughter, of course. She's never been in financial trouble. Any adults never been in financial trouble? Anybody? Okay. It happens. It does. We mess up. That does happen. It does happen. How do we plan, or how do we keep it from happening like all the time, or from happening to the point that we're in big trouble? Plan right. Put a budget together. Sometimes that's a little bit more difficult. I look at these percentages here and I think, well, let's see. One month I may make $12, and the other month I may make $1,200. So you have to kind of think, okay, well, I need to look at the whole year. I need to average it down. What is it? What would it be for a month? What should it be for a month? And then make that work. What's that? Put the foot down and keep it there. That's right. Amen. Any questions or comments? What's up? Got to pay them. That's right. Got to pay them. If you don't want to pay them, don't get them. What's that? Yep, that's right. That's right. You get sick, it costs you money. That's why you got to be a good steward of your body, because it costs you. Yep. Somebody told me once, talking about health food. Now, I'm going to give you a balance too on this health food. All right. It's important to eat healthy, but don't eat so healthy that you go bankrupt eating healthy. Yes, it will cost you more later if you don't eat healthy, but you can have a balance there. You don't have to spend $12,000 a month on your food in order to keep you out of the hospital later. Honestly, I'd rather, you know, spend maybe a fraction of that, a small fraction of that, and then maybe have a medical bill later on down the road. That's what some people. The fact of the matter is, even if you're trying to eat as healthy as possible, you're still gonna end up with some health problems eventually, no matter. What's that? No. I said balance. I didn't say throw off all carefulness and stuff in. Just go get you a tub of sugar and eat it all day long. Eat healthy, but don't eat so healthy you go bankrupt eating healthy. You know what I'm saying? So I know some people say I can't afford to eat healthy. Well, you kind of can't afford not to eat healthy because you'll pay for it later with medical bills, but you also don't necessarily have to go out and buy the most expensive, most healthy stuff. You know, balance it. So, anyways, amen. Questions, comments, anything? Nada.